I guess that was one of the situational scenarios that I had to learn the hard way. So now, this was in July of 2008. 2 days later, she calls me. Now, mind you, this is the same woman that wanted me to leave. And she calls me and she wanted to speak with me. And we spoke for a bit and we decided to bury the hatchet. And I said, there was no reason to hold on to any grudges about anything. I said that email shit was some petty shit, and honestly, it's not something that was even worth holding on to a grudge about. And I said if it could be resolved in a peaceful manner, let's at least be able to do that. So at this time, I'm under the impression that everything is going pretty smooth, or just we're at least being on civil terms. This is another reason why I did a video saying it's not good to have contact with an ex, especially if you don't have kids from her. There's not a reason. Just move on and don't spare yourself the unnecessary drama. So at the time we spoke back and forth, and pretty much she would complain to me about her relationship problems with the man she was with at the time, bitching and complaining and saying all of these things about him. And even to a point before we even started speaking, she contacted my mother and asked my mother to just say, well, just please tell him that I said hello. Okay. Now I remember before I even seen her the day at the house, before this whole thing happened, me and him would play on Xbox together, and they just so happened to live in the same house, and we would talk over the headsets or whatever. And I remember me and him were playing, and she decided to tell him tell her family member to say that she said what's up, and I thought that was a little strange, but I said all right, whatever. So this is what led to these events prior to what happened. So now, as we were speaking, the way she was accustomed to operating. Well, before I even get to that, not only did she call my mother to tell her that she said hi to me, but she also would call my mother to complain about her relationship issues with homeboy that she was dealing with, and etc. I thought that was a little strange, but you know what? I didn't get in between it. So now, the way she was accustomed to operating, she would be the type that would pretty much have a high and a low. And she had a very manipulative mindset. And pretty much what she was trying to do was set me up for deflation, better yet. Where she would get me to get my hopes up 1 minute just to try to send them crashing right back down. And that's something that really doesn't work with me, because I've been through it all in the past, so it was nothing that was new to me. And honestly, that type of stuff really doesn't faze me to this day. So I remember a couple of times she was like, well, we should meet up and we should go hang out and just spend the day together. And the day of, she wouldn't call and she wouldn't show up. So I said, okay, that was fair enough. Now, mind you, there was multiple times she had spoken to me about her relationship issues, constantly beating me in the head about the situation that she was going through. And we exchanged just information about the situation that we were both in at the time. Why I did it, I was stupid at the time, nothing more, nothing less, and that's just something that I've grown out of to this day and age. But this happened back in August, because we spoke throughout July into August, and then I stopped hearing from her. Didn't hear from her until October. As a matter of fact, October, she shows up at my house passing out flyers for her business. So I thought that was a little strange, but I said, you know what, I'm not going to make nothing of it. I'm going to leave it alone, because I figured that we had ended it on civil terms. Now, me and her relative were still cool, and still are, they still have a great deal of respect for me to this day. And we would speak on the occasion, and even still continue to play on Xbox Live together. So one day in November, she decides that she wanted to call up. Now, some of the details in the story I'm going to just blur out. I'm not going to explain the full details because I don't want to give out too much information. But she decides to call up, pretty much beefing. Well, why are you two still speaking with one another, and etc., etc. And I'm like, wait a second, I thought that we buried the hatchet, but honestly, you still are holding on to some type of a grudge. So she continues to ramble on, and I simply hang up the phone on her. Then she tries to tell her relative, take him off of your friends list on Xbox Live. Whatever people want to do is up to them, that's on them. So once she sees that I hung up the phone on her, she decided to calm down and eventually call me back a few minutes later saying, well, I'm not trying to have any type of bad blood towards you, but I'm at a point in time where I don't want you in my life because I'm in a relationship, and I don't want you in my life. And I got a new man now, and I don't want you in my life because of my man, and my man, and my man. Fine, whatever. Hung up the phone after that. I had spoken to a relative because he was cool with one of my relatives, and they were younger at the time. And I said, behind this, I'm going to have to reevaluate or reassess whether the two of you can even go to each other's houses anymore because of this situation. And this is not something that I'm doing, but this is something that your family member or your relative is making extremely difficult. And basically what she would say to me is, you have no business talking to him, you're not his guardian, you're not his relative, you're not nothing, you're etc., etc. Okay, fair enough. So pretty much when I told him what I told him, that I don't know if that's going to be a good idea for him and my family member to continue hanging out. He must have, I don't know how it got back to her, whether he spoke to her or what, but she winds up calling me again about a day later. Meanwhile, she wasn't the guardian of his at all. She was in no authority to make any decisions. But she's the one calling me. Now, I told you before that this was a female. This is a woman that told me over internet messages saying that I got a new man and my life is great without you. A woman that called me over the phone to say, I don't want you in my life because I'm in a relationship. And then decides to come around my house before then, about a month before that, passing out flyers to her business, but talking about how she wants me out of her life. But then calling me to say, well, why is it that you don't want the two of them, your family member and my relative, hanging out anymore? I said, that's none of your business and I'm not going to discuss that with you. And she basically would say, well, you need to find people your own age. I said, no, it's not about anybody being my age. I said, if I have a problem with one of my relatives being involved with anybody from your circle, I'm going to say so and they're going to respect that. Simple as that. There's not a damn thing that you can say that's going to alter my decision or persuade my decision. If I choose to change my choice, that'll be due to me, not because of you. Because at the end of the day, you're nobody's legal guardian yourself. So pretty much, I had to put her in check at this time, and I said, you know what? I don't want to get into an argument with you, but I want to briefly inform you on a few things. I said, I do understand that you have been contacting my mother about your relationship issues. You are no longer to do that, or even call her for that matter, because she doesn't want nothing to do with you. I don't call your family to talk about my problems in relationships. I understand that you've been coming around my house, passing out your flyers, even though you made it clear multiple times that you wanted me out of your life. And let me just rewind it back. You see, earlier in October, after she done passed out these flyers in front of my house, she decided to call me to pick up a bootleg DVD that she bought many years previous before this, and say, well, I just wanted to know if I can come and get my DVD. Like, okay, whatever, sure. And this is what I mean when I say she would try to set me up for deflation, try to get my hopes up, thinking that I was going to be excited to see her. And then she would call back a few hours later after she said she was going to come through and get it and say, yeah, nah, I'm not going to get it. I'm just going to send somebody else to come and get it. Trying to use mental, psychological manipulation. Trying to inflate me. Which was rather sad because none of it clearly worked. Either way, what she said, I said, okay, whatever you want to do, cool. Now, this is a $5 bootleg DVD. Was it that serious? Of course not. Did she really care about picking this DVD up? No, because you can get it anywhere. As a matter of fact, they have it on Blu-ray. So why would anyone care about a $5 bootleg DVD? So now, bringing it back to the situation at hand. I told her, when she called me, I told her I don't want you contacting my mom anymore. I don't want you calling me or coming around my house passing out your flyers. The first thing she brought us to talk about was, well, this is my situation with my man. I'm going to be with my man and my man and my... I said, let me just stop you right there because you're telling me something that is just like you talking to a brick wall because I don't care about whatever your situation is right now. And I said, at the end of the day, you will not have to contact me anymore. All right? And I just hung up the phone as she was rambling on, saying whatever she was saying. I just hung up the damn phone. I could care less about what she was saying. So now, this is November. We're fast forwarding into December, the day after Christmas, where I'm at work and she decides to now call me. And I didn't even know who it was because it was from a different number. And I asked, who is this? She's like, the woman you can't stand. I said, well, please enlighten me. And pretty much, we all knew who it was. And this was my problem. Still entertaining an ex-girlfriend. When I should have been like, you know what, click, and had nothing more to say.